What's up, guys? Prince Sports here, man. I want to touch on the whole Chris Paul, Lakers, all that. Okay, the Lakers were communicating with the OKC Thunder. According to reports, they were putting a trade offer together to get Chris Paul to come to the Lakers. Now, LeBron wants to play with Chris Paul. Okay, he even admitted to the fact that he'll come off the ball, let Chris Paul run the point, which I think is total baloney because LeBron has said this before, and he still ends up with the ball in his hands, and he has to have the ball in his hands to put up those numbers that he puts up, especially to put up the stats and to go after some of the rebounds. You know, he needs to have the ball in his hands. That's the type of player LeBron James is. Okay, he is a ball-dominant basketball player. And somewhat you have to be a ball-dominant basketball player to be averaging or come close to having triple-double numbers. Now, the problem with that is Chris Paul is also ball-dominant. And he's a natural point guard. So getting Chris Paul on your team with LeBron James, they're going to cancel each other out. And somebody's going to become off the ball. Somebody's going to have to be with the ball less in their hands. And the ball less in both of those guys' hands, they become less efficient and they become less hopeful to their team. You know, they don't provide that much help to their teams if they're coming off the ball and less with the ball in their hands. So I think that trade is not that good anyway. And Chris Paul is good friends with LeBron James, but he doesn't want to so-called stack the deck. He feels like his presence on the Lakers will be pointless because they already get a point guard in LeBron James. They get a point guard in Rajon Rondo if they re-sign him. That's two natural point guards. And Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo don't like each other. I could imagine that one of those guys would have been gone if Chris Paul came to the Lakers. Most likely Rajon Rondo, of course. But I respect Chris Paul a little bit, but then again, I don't understand him, okay? You don't want to form a super team, fine. You know, you want to beat LeBron James, rather play with him. I understand that. That's the competitiveness coming out of you. But if you're so willing to not form a super team, how come reports are coming out that you would like to play for the Clippers instead? Isn't going to the Clippers of forming a super team too? Because you got Paul George, you got Kawhi Leonard, and they will have you. Yes, your role on the Clippers would be a little more than your role on the Lakers. But Kawhi Leonard needs a ball in his hands, and he's a guy that said when he was on the Toronto Raptors, it's my job to score the basketball. So he wants to be a two-way player, a defensive player and a guy that has the ball in his hands to score. So why go to the Clippers if you don't want to form a super team? You know, go to a place like the Knicks. You know, you don't need to form a super team with the Clippers. That's kind of weird to me because why would you join LeBron James? Why would you reject joining LeBron James and Anthony Davis but go to the Clippers? It's pretty much still a super team being formed. But you rather form a super team that beats LeBron James opposite to a super team that plays with him. And you're supposed to be LeBron James as one of his best friends, his godparent. I mean, if you're best friends with somebody, the thought to play with your best friend should have came across your mind a little bit. Be like, yeah, it'd be cool to play with, my best friend, and win championships with him. You're at a point where you're in your career, Chris Paul, when you're declining. So for you to turn down an offer or don't want to play with LeBron James and the Lakers, but form a super team elsewhere, it seems kind of suspect, You don't want a super team, fine. Go to the Knicks. I respect the fact that you want to beat LeBron James, but hell. Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, you guys both could go to the New York Knicks, I don't know how the Knicks could pull that off because you have to trade for both, but, I kind of see the Knicks eventually getting one of those guys because they're both in their 30s. One of those two or both of those guys fit the Knicks perfectly, if you ask me. Man, I don't know what is it about being here overseas, but I'm starting to sound like I'm Southern or some shit, And I'm from New York. But yeah, man, Chris Paul. I don't know if you guys consider this being disrespectful towards LeBron James, that you don't want to play with him, but seems like Anthony Davis is the only guy that superstar terms or all-star terms that wants to play with LeBron James. Now you have Lakers reports of trying to go and get DeMar DeRozan because Chris Paul turned him down. Now, Lakers seem hell-bent on getting a third star because they want to go into the next season being the favorites. They want to go into the next season stacking the deck. This goes both ways because it's hard to respect sometimes when you want to keep stacking the deck. I think the Lakers got more than enough to repeat without adding another all-star. But that's just me. Prince Sports out. Peace.